I'm on board a Sirena 78, a model of yacht that was only released to the public at the 2022 Cannes Yachting Festival. I was there for that, and I remember being given a tour of the first model. And by the time I stepped off and back onto the dock, this was my new favourite yacht in this size range. I must be honest, I couldn't remember why that was until we flew down to Bodrum to take a look at this model, and then it all came flooding back to me. I can't wait to show you. But before I show you around and explain to you what makes this a very unique layout for a vessel, let me tell you a few of the basic specs. The yacht is 25 metres long, has a beam of 6.5 metres and a draft of 1.73 metres. So what have Sirena done with that 25 by 6.5 metre volume that they have that's so unusual? Well, we're going to start, of course, on the aft deck, which is fairly basic actually, because you have the dining table, which is nicely positioned, the little fridge there that's just behind where Slava is. Here we have access to the engine room, but also there's access from the transom. As you can see, the transom has a very large platform, which is hydraulic, that will actually go into the water and then back out again, which is great actually to use for going swimming or for launching and retrieving the tender. On the subject of the tender, that's a great place to put a tender. You'll notice that the one on this particular yacht has an outboard motor. You don't see that too often with yachts that have a transom garage. That's because it's often very difficult to get those outboard motors into the garage, but also because, of course, they run on gas, and it's inadvisable, sometimes not even allowed, to have gas in an enclosed space in the boat. So that's a great solution to be able to have it there. We have a central door that leads you into lazarette area, which is effectively the crew quarters, with 2 crew cabins, a central head, and access into the engine room. Now the engines are MAN 1550 horsepower. They will give you a top speed on this yacht of 24 knots. You can cruise at 16 knots. And if you bring your speed down to 9 knots, you'll have a range of about 1,600 nautical miles. The interesting thing though with this engine room is that it has V-drives. Some of you will know what V-drives are, others won't, so let me just quickly explain. The traditional method of propulsion for most motor yachts is that you have the engines, the shaft, and the propeller. So that takes up a certain amount of space. The advantage with the V-drives is that you turn the engine around and you bring it closer to the transom. You have some amount of a shaft heading in this direction, a transmission that is called a V-drive that then puts the shaft back to the propeller. So all of a sudden, you can have a more compact engine room with the same sized engines and the same results. You'll see the advantages of having a smaller, more compact engine room as we look around, because it really does free up a lot of space for the guests, a lot of space for you. But to be able to really understand that, let's just have a look inside, because it's quite remarkable. Just look at this. I don't know of any other yacht of this size and above where you can walk in and see all the way to the bow of the yacht. And I'm not talking about all the way through to the furthest, foremost part of the superstructure. I'm talking about the outside. You can see all the way, literally, to the furthest point of the bow of the yacht. It gives an amazing feel of space and lightness as you walk around. This is a lovely, cozy seating area. You have, of course, the television set over there with its lifting and lowering mechanism, a wine fridge here, everything that you really need to be able to be comfortable on a yacht of this size. But the star of the show for me is the Galley. I remember making a video, years ago, in which I just made a comment about the layout of yachts and the fact that in most people's home, The kitchen is the centre point. It's where everybody gets together and chats. No matter how nice the other areas of the house are, people tend to congregate in the kitchen. And I made the comment in that video that yacht builders seem to almost hide the kitchen away. They want to give it, yes, plenty of space, of course, so it's a decent sized galley, but they tend to put it somewhere where it can't be seen. Sirena have embraced the way that people live their lives, both at sea and at their home. They've made no excuse. In fact, they've made a feature of this beautiful galley with this lovely island here, well equipped, lots of space. You don't have to pack anything into a small hole, as on most 78-foot yachts you do have to. Really good refrigeration space. I almost forgot to tell you, when we got on board, the first thing that happened was that one of the crew very kindly offered us coffee, and it's all in there. This pulls out, so it was very easy to make the coffee, slides back in again. This is the way that people live. Most people have a social life on their yacht, and eating and drinking is very much a part of that social life. This particular yacht, they've even brought forward the dining table here. And can you imagine eating with your friends with that kind of a view? Unfortunately, today's a rainy and rather cold day in Bodrum, but actually under those circumstances, I think most people would be eating inside here. The weather brings me on to another topic, which is that the air conditioning system on this yacht is by Webasto. That's maybe a name that you're familiar with. I always considered them as being people who produce heating systems. Most air conditioning units, in fact, are reverse cycle, so they can blow hot air or cold air. This Webasto system, I can tell you the hot air works perfectly because we're lovely and cozy and warm, even though outside it's extremely cold today. Another feature that I wanted to point out to you is this area here. Now, by bringing the superstructure very far forward and then having this vertical edge with these lovely wraparound windows, that's actually opened up a lot of real estate at the bow. I can't count how many yachts I've been on, especially of this size, where you get to the bow and yes, there's a little seating area, but they've had to kind of carve it out of a superstructure because the superstructure comes down and then they put a little bench. What a great idea this is. Bring the whole thing forward to an immediate stop, and then that is not an excuse for a forward deck. That is a real proper foredeck with sunbathing, cup holders, lovely seating area, two little coffee tables. I think, personally, for main deck layout, this is absolutely ideal. Not to even mention that you've got a little area here that you can sit at and do a little bit of reading or get onto the internet if you want to do that. What about the guests? It gets better and better. Let me show you below deck. But when I say that, I don't mean the TV show, heaven forbid. We're going to start with a master stateroom. I usually end with that. There's a good reason I want to start with it. It is absolutely gorgeous. Full beam. Again, lots of light, big windows, good sized bed as well. This lovely little beauty cabinet. And this actually works, by the way. I say that because for those of you that have looked at yachts of this size, you'll be surprised how many times the lid lifts up, but it's at an angle that if you sit on the stool, you can't see yourself in the mirror, which must be extremely frustrating. This one, actually, you can sit there, look at yourself, put your lipstick on, eyeshadow, and away you go. I've been using this earlier, actually, to sit there and make a few notes for a work that I need to do. Full height wardrobes. Not all of them. This one's full height. This one finishes about there, and then you have shelves below. The only reason I'm not opening it up is because the owner's clothes and belongings are on board out of respect for the owner. I'm not going to open that. But a lot of wardrobe space here, and a proper his and hers head with an interconnecting shower. Beautifully appointed. Lots of attention to detail. Let's have a look a little bit further forward. So here we have effectively a double-use head. It can be used as a day head with this door here for guests that just need to nip down and use the bathroom, or also as an ensuite to this twin cabin here. Again, lovely cabin, well appointed, good sized wardrobe. Same again here, so you have port and starboard twin cabins, both with their own heads. Now, when I was preparing for this video, I read an article by Power and Motoryacht magazine, which was a very good, thorough article about this model of yacht. And actually, I'll put a link to that article in the description. But they made the comments that they felt that that owner's cabin was the piece de la resistance of the yacht. I don't agree. I think this is. Just look at this for a VIP cabin. It's absolutely extraordinary. I have to be honest. If I was a guest on board, I would rather sleep here than the master. So often when VIP staterooms are put in the bow section of a yacht this size, the bed is here, everything's cramped around it, you have very little head height, and you feel really that you're getting second best, and not a very good second best at all. I really don't know how Sirena have done this. They've managed to bring those steps quite far aft so that you actually come up. The height of the ceiling also increases. The height of the deck does, because above us is that beautiful bow foredeck area with the sun pads and the cushions on it. And they've managed to get this huge cabin in here, which seems to defy possibility. And as I speak, I realise that they've been able to do that because of those V drives that I mentioned earlier on in the video. The fact that they've been able to make a more compact engine room that still has plenty of space to work on and to do the maintenance work has been able to give them this incredible cabin here. Even the ensuite bathroom is beautiful. That's a great size shower in there, beautifully appointed. For me, this is an absolute winning combination. But this isn't the only surprise on board. Let's take a look at the Flybridge. I'd forgotten that Sirena offer this solution on the Flybridge, and it is actually a Flybridge because we have the bridge right here. Very elegantly laid out, very simple. And look at the visibility from around here. Proper, vertical, wraparound windows. I can easily see the bow from here. I have everything that I need to safely navigate with the yacht. But I love the fact that at the side of the bridge, they put a really big bar. I've just actually come back from the United States filming some pretty big yachts in the United States, and even bigger yachts would have been proud of a bar area as big as this. You have refrigeration, ice maker, lots of space for drinks, glasses, everything that you could possibly need, everything you could need to serve this area here. 2 bar stools, a lovely, comfy area, but this is why it's called a semi-enclosed sky lounge. Sirena actually do offer a totally enclosed sky lounge, just like they offer an open Flybridge with a hard top. But this is the most popular combination, and I can absolutely see why. We talk about outside, inside living on yachts. This really is. You don't know where the outside stops. Well, you do, because it's raining there, and that's the wet area, and where the inside begins. Lovely grill here for barbecues, very, very comfy area, big television set as well. To me, this makes this such a very unique yacht in so many areas. It has so many unexpected features. I do want to tell you another feature of the yacht, though, that I believe is very important. This is a composite production yacht. It's actually partially carbon fibre, but basically a composite yacht. When you buy a composite production yacht of this size and a new model comes out, which is the case with this yacht, very often what the manufacturer has done is taken the mould of an existing hull and they just refresh the interiors, do a new superstructure, give it a different look, but the hull is the same hull that they've been using in some cases for 10 or even 15 years. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but it does mean that you have a hull that's been around for a long time. Not the case with this yacht. This is a totally new designed hull by a naval architect from Argentina called Herman Freres. If you're familiar with Herman Freres, it's probably because you know a little bit about sailing yachts. Freres sailing yachts are world famous, and it seems to me that when essentially a sailing yacht architect puts together a hull for a motor yacht, amazing things happen. The interiors are by Cor D. Rover from Holland. Now, he's also a naval architect as well as an interior designer. And he made a comment in an interview that I read that when he works with Freres, because they're both naval architects talking the same language, the level of understanding is really unique. And what comes out of it is something fabulous. In this case, something fabulous called Galene IV, which is a Sirena 78 that's for sale. Well worth taking a look at. If you want more details, do contact my colleague and my friend, Deniz.kaymaz, whose details are on screen now.